of Michael Scott Clifton's book 3, A Witch's Brew, Conquest of the Veil. Like I said, book 3. It's a really cool fantasy series, probably one of the best written ones that I have read in a very long time. Lyd, take it away.
Well, and I'm your co-host today, Lydia Mann, and Mike and CJ and I have been buddies for, gosh, what, about 3 or 4 years now? We met through East Texas Writers. So it's fun to be able to be on with Mike and talk about this 3rd book. Mike, why don't you tell us just a little bit about you and a little bit about this series?
Well, I write under the pen name Author Michael Scott Clifton. Generally write in the fantasy genre. I've written one teen novel, Edison Jones and the Antigrav Elevator. And as CJ was saying, this is book 3, A Witch's Brew in the Conquest of the Veil series, which will be a 4-book series. The last book will be released next year. And this book continues where it left off, as you might imagine, from book 2, which was Escape from Wheel. And in book 3, the main characters, which are Tal and Alexandria, have come to a city called Markingham, which, if you're familiar with the series, is a part of a magical world which is parallel to Earth. And they are on a part of the world which has been partitioned by a magical barrier called the Veil. And they've managed to find a way through a breach in the Veil. And basically, we have an invasion force going through there to destroy the Veil and the person, the Dark Queen that created it. However, when they get to Markingham, a place where they're going to use as a staging point to launch the war against the Veil Queen, they find that it is a city in complete disarray. And then you have they have to deal with what I call the Baleful, Baleful, which in fantasy, if you use your imagination, is actually
they don't sound like good guys.
They aren't. I tried to think of a name that would best describe this kind of horde of creatures, and the Baleful came to mind. And they're melded creatures of humans and animals, so they're a meld of both. And they're led by a giant centaur, and they kind of move across the land like locusts, taking everything they can. And they're basically fixing to come across this defenseless city. And
okay, now I'm gonna slow you down because you're beginning to give away too many plot points. So
okay.
save that for the readers. But sort of back us up a little bit with this trilogy and let us know, where did this original idea come from for you?
Well, about a dozen years ago, maybe it could be a little bit longer. I just, I have a pretty active imagination, and I thought it would be a pretty fascinating story if you could take a person, this character, and transport them from Earth to a parallel world of magic and completely change their identity. They still have their consciousness, but their body's different, and the situation they're in is different, and how they would react. And of course, if you add magical creatures, and fey creatures, fairies, etc., the staples of fantasy, it comes up with, I think, a pretty good plot mix. And of course, you have romance and overcoming obstacles. Very much it's very much a good versus evil context in terms of the plot. And I would say it's epic in the sense, in far as fantasy goes, and that it is a 4-book series, which means that it is a story that carries across 4 different novels. And I've gotten very good reviews on all the novels so far.
Yeah, you have been getting good reviews. Yeah,
I actually think this is the best one of the 3 that I've written so far.
Awesome.
I think they're all good, but I think this one's really good.
Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Well, CJ, do you have anything you want to jump in on, or are you still typing?
I'm still working.
Okay, we're going to just keep chatting then. So if you are watching this link on the event page, that's the one you need to use if you're going to comment to win prizes. So make sure that you are watching this video on the event page. And we'll be sharing that link. It's already up, but CJ is pasting it some other places too. So
yeah, I just need you guys to go in and share it.
yep, we will as soon as you send us the link.
So go to my personal page, and there's like a note on the top. Don't show the video, show the other one.
Okay, well then that's what we'll do. Anyway, so let's do something fun. Let's do a giveaway. So what do we want to start with? Do we want to start with one of CJ's books? Do we want to start with my book, one of Mike's? What are we going to do here?
Well, Mike has some audiobooks, so let's do that.
Okay. So Mike has an audiobook of, Mike, tell us which audiobook you're going to be giving away.
Well, actually I have two that they can take their choice of. Audiobook of the Treasure Hunt Club, which was the first novel I wrote, and it is a standalone novel, and The Janus Witch, which was the second book I've written, and it is also a standalone novel. So either one, they can take their choice. If they win, they can choose either the audiobook for the Treasure Hunt Club or The Janus Witch.
Very cool.
And I think I have.
Do you have a winner yet?
No, I think I have the audio book page. Pictures.
The audio book page. Okay.
Pictures somewhere.
You know, this is the fun of doing live video, because you're trying to, you know, pay attention to what you're saying on the screen, plus paste and stuff on Facebook and yeah, all that. So
and don't forget asking for a synopsis of the latest novel.
Oh yeah, of course.
Deer in the headlights.
Okay, well let's make it somewhat easy. Which series is this new book from?
Ooh, which series is the new book from? So
I need the first person to answer, and you must be answering on the event page URL link. I see Trevor's watching, Lyra's watching, David's watching, Greg Kelso's watching. So I know they have been commenting. So which series is this new book from? The third book. It's a third book in which series?
That's a tough one.
I know, right?
It's tough, yes.
Like plaster everywhere.
Look at the title of the book.
Baylog. Good job.
Yay, David. Woohoo.
Conquest of the Veil. Good job. David got it first. David, I'm going to need you to messenger me your email address, please.
Yay. Okay. And Mike, I don't know if you know David, but he writes fantasy as well. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
so he's
good.
And David, when you message me your email address, you also need to tell me whether you want the Treasure Hunt Club or the Janus Witch. Mike, can you show everybody a copy of the front of the book so we know what it looks like? Pretty. Oh, wait. Great. That's not gonna work. Put it in front of
right in front of you. Yeah, right in front of your body. There you go, right there. Oh, right. No, don't
there
move.
You go.
Yay.
That's the painful part of anything green. With the green screen, that's painful. Welcome to the world of live.
Yep.
A lot of green with the green stuff.
No, that is an awesome cover. Y'all, whoever is your cover designer did an awesome job. So,
yeah, I like the stark green. I mean, I do his graphics, so I was just like, yay! Let's play with a lot of pretty green stuff.
I was telling. Well, I was telling when we were talking yesterday about the cover. The actual cover artist lives in Belgium and has done the Escape from Wheel cover as well. And I think she does an awesome job.
Yes,
That's
Trevor,
what's
experience are good and bad.
yeah, that's what's so cool. You know, in this online world that we live in, you know, you can reach out to extremely talented people all over the world to help you bring your book to life. CJ, are you ready to talk, or shall I talk for you? I'll talk for you. CJ's illustrator for her first children's book, which was Cruising: The Adventures of Chief and Sarge. It's that was her first foray into illustrated children's books, and it is totally fun, if I do say so myself. And she had a illustrator that she ended up working with that lives in Syria. Is that where Waleed's from? Somewhere like that, somewhere in the Middle East. And it's like
Middle East.
yeah, and that's what's so cool. I've had some cover design work done for me by, you know, people in Korea. I did a short story for the Texas Sisters Press Christmas anthology this past Christmas, and mine was a kaiju Christmas. So I had this young lady do a artist rendition of a Godzilla-like creature. It was not Godzilla. I don't want to get sued, Toho Studios. Thank you very much. It was a Godzilla type creature holding Santa's sleigh. So
Good grief.
yeah, it turned out really cute. So
I'm going to jump in real quick.
Yep. Okay.
I'm going to talk about my books.
Please do.
What I'll be giving away, make sure you're using the event page link, because that's the only one I'm looking at the comments on. If you're commenting off of a different one, I won't see it and you won't win. I will be giving away an ebook of Chief and Sarge Cruising or Strength from Within, both of which actually just won awards a couple days ago. This one for Best Christian Fiction Suspense. This one for Best Children's Travel Book. So I'll talk about the Chief and Sarge one first. Basically, what we do is we go on trips. We have a stuffed animal chief and a stuffed animal Sarge. And these are actual pictures from our trips. And they get converted to show you a real life adventure. And so we take the little guys all over the world. Oh, yeah, actually, yeah, all over the world. And they get their pictures taken with people and different places. And like I said, we just convert it into a fun book for kids to enjoy. And there's also some fun facts in the end. Strength from Within was my very first Christian fiction book. My very first book. But
you're talking about, yeah, go ahead. Keep going. Sorry.
It was my very first book. And then when I went and wrote other books, I decided to hide this one and rewrote it last year and completely rewrote it and republished it. And like I said, this one just won an award for Best Christian Fiction Suspense. It's basically, what would you do if your town was held captive? Would you fight back or would you comply? So Lid, do you have a question for people? They can win either an ebook of Strength from Within or Cruising.
What? Okay. What part of the world, and you can be kind of generalized, what part of the world did CJ's illustrator come from?
You're listening for that one.
For Chief and Sarge. You don't have to have the exact country. If you can just kind of get the region, that's cool too.
General area.
His
name is Waleed Ahmad. Just to give you a hint. My Trevor says, proud of my wife. Thank you. Liz said that's my talented sis.
Yes.
So what general area is he from?
Yep. Remember, you got to be commenting on
that one might be a tough one.
On the page. So okay, y'all, his first name's Waleed. Does that not give you a hint?
Yeah,
he ain't from Montana. He ain't from Texas.
He ain't from Texas. Super talented though.
So
thank you. Paul Watson says, lucky to serve with her. I work with Paul in Star Trek Pathfinder. He is our captain. and I am chief of security. So it's kind of cool. On Facebook, it's at ST Pathfinder, and it's kind of live action storyboards. We call them meme-isodes. So if
You
you're
don't wear
into
the red. You don't wear.
I don't
You
what?
don't wear the red vest, the red shirt, do you? Right?
Not
You
anymore.
had Star Trek.
They bumped me up
Trek
for
shirt, right?
this one episode. They did bump me up for one episode, but I decided I didn't want to stay in red.
Well, why is that?
Yeah, because you don't wear red in Star Trek.
No, you last one episode.
Yeah.
And you get killed
Okay.
off. Yeah.
If you're on the away team. Yeah.
I'm going to make this super duper easy. The first book for Chief and Sarge, we took them on an adventure. What was the adventure? Come on.
Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. There's a hint.
Come on, guys. Unless you have a Scottish accent. No, Greg, no Scottish accents.
Oh, that's true, because Scotty did wear red.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
He started off in gold, though.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
Anyway. No, he was
I
always
know
in
Jordy wore gold.
Yeah. Paul T.
Brew!
Watson.
Paul got it. So Paul, I need you to do me a favor. I need to know if you want the ebook. You're probably gonna want the ebook of, I don't know, it's up to you. Ebook of Chief and Sarge or Strength from Within. Message me your email and which one you want.
Whoop, whoop.
Congratulations, Paul.
Yay. So do y'all want me to keep singing, or do you want me to talk about books
No,
or
we're gonna
something?
jump to Lydia's.
Okay.
Lydia's is going to be a ebook of her book, The Nightmare King, which is middle grade fantasy, but actually older people can enjoy it as well. It kind of is across, I say it's always a cross between Redwall and Narnia.
So The Nightmare King is the first of a trilogy / maybe 4-book series. And it's about a brother and a sister who travel to the land of dreams to rescue someone they love from the dungeon of the Nightmare King. And they go on many adventures with a big black dragon named Shadow, who's a good guy, and there's talking animals and all that. So it's, it's that fantasy, sort of, I don't want to say trope because that sounds, bad, but it's that culture of fantasy that we all recognize, just like Mike, it's like you've got your parallel world. Well, the land of dreams, in my book, that's the land, that's where you go when you dream. And so, there's dreams and there's nightmares. And so the children in the book have to, face their fears, and they figure out they're smarter than they think they are. And, it's an adventurous story, but don't tell the kids there's a few little life lessons, mixed in there. So, and I have won an award for The Nightmare King from the North Texas Book Festival. So that was my first book and my first book award, and I was very proud.
Now, what are the characters who are in there? We haven't gone over that.
Shadow is a big black dragon. He's a good guy. There's a talking eagle named Sir Isaac. And the kids are Lee, which is a girl, and Andrew. And so they are loosely, very, very loosely based on my niece and my nephew back when they were kids, because that's where I got the original inspiration for this story. When they were young, I just kind of had this idea, it'd been floating around in my head, and I was like, I'm going to write this as a short story for my niece and nephew. And
now the main character, Maggie, wouldn't happen to be after anybody we know, would we?
No, nope. And there were some life lessons and things I wanted to communicate to the kids when they were young, and storytelling is one of those fun ways of getting those life lessons in there. So I started writing it, and I thought it was going to be a short story, and all of a sudden it just kept going and going and going. I'm like, hey, I've never written a book before, but maybe this is it. So,
and she handed it to me how many years after you actually wrote it?
A long time.
And I said, why is this not in print yet? Because at that point, I think I had 3 or 4 books out.
No, you only had 2,
2? Okay.
I think. Anyway,
It's like 3.
but there were many rewrites, many rewrites later, and professional editing and all of that. I finally did bring The Nightmare King to print. So
Little sister kicked her tail till she turned it in.
yep. But this was one of those adventures where little sister got to blaze the trail into the publishing. You know, I'm the big sister. I'm used to being the trailblazer. Well, it was her turn. So
It was fun.
yeah, and I'm very and just, you know, I give CJ a lot of ribbing, to put it nicely, sometimes, but I'm very, very, very proud of my baby sister, and
Thank you.
she is fully embraced being an author and a podcaster and a mentor. She really goes out of her way to work with other authors, to, you know, help with social media and things like that, because we all have a different skill set, and there's a lot of folks out there that you know, they may be great writers and illustrators, but the whole social media thing just scares the bejubals out of them. And so I'm not mentioning any names,
Like,
Mike, but you know, but I'm very proud of her for helping out with
yes, I
different
do help Mike.
A lot. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so what question do you want to ask?
What is the name of the dragon in your book, The Nightmare King?
Yay!
So for an ebook of The Nightmare King, Shadow of Dragons 1, what is the name of the dragon? Make sure that you're commenting on the events link. Otherwise, I won't see it and you won't win. You could be shouting from one of the other pages and I won't hear it. In the meantime, Mike, tell us about book 3. You told us a little bit about the premise of the whole Conquest of the Veil. Tell us a little teaser about what happens in... Greg says I know, but again, I have the audio.
Yeah, and for those who know Greg or don't know Greg Kelso, you should definitely follow him as an author. He writes fun stuff, and where Greg and I, we're like, you know, funk soul brother and sister, and we share Tess Primack, our first for our first audiobooks. So Tess did his first audiobook, and she did The Nightmare King, which was my first audiobook. So
okay, yes, David is like rocking it tonight. He got it.
David.
So he's like the big, huge winner tonight. Him and Paul, you guys go.
And
so
David
won the
yeah,
ebook.
David, if you would like to have an audiobook. Yeah. Okay, Paul is fired. David, if you would like to have an audiobook instead of an ebook, just let CJ know. Yeah, let CJ know, because I have a few freebie links for the audiobook. Yeah.
Okay, so back to my question with Mike. Kind of give us a little gist, not the whole plot, a little gist of A Witch's Brew. What's it about? What happens there?
Okay, my next deer in the headlight moment. Okay. Well, it's like I said, it's the 3rd book in the series, and it continues the story of the main characters' travails from Earth to the magical world of Meredith and all that's happened in between. So the 3rd book carries on where the 2nd book left off. And in this book, the characters Tal and Alexandria, as their relationship becomes much more serious and intense. And there's more of that in there. But it also has, you know, conflicts, as you might imagine, with fantasy. And I like magical creatures. And like I said, I've got a pretty active imagination. And they're part of, woven into the story. But the main theme is the growing relationship between Tal and Alexandria, and their love for each other, and how that has progressed from book 1 to now 3, and of course what happens as they, you know, overcome crises and obstacles together. And it'll all be tied together again in book 4. I will say on book 1, 2, and 3, and as you know, especially CJ, since you write series, it's often difficult to, you don't want to give away, you don't want to revisit in book 3 what you've already done in book 2. So the question is, could you pick up this book and read it if you've not read the first book or 2 in the series? And the answer is yes and no. It's not a standalone novel, but you could pick up the book and you could there would be gaps, as you would have, again, in any novel, any series that you start at, halfway through. But at the same time, it is something that you can read and follow along without too much confusion. Although it would be best to read, book 2 and book 1 before you do book 2. So yeah, I guess I'm saying if you like this book, you would like the other 2 as well.
Yeah, so. And you have 3 books in this series. I have 3 series in a standalone. And in my books, our characters actually cross over different storylines. So you can get a different part of a different character's a different story. And some people start with, they're like, well, which one do I start with? And I said, well, generally I do the Grace Restored series, the Holy Flame trilogy, Strength from Within, and then the Divine Legacy series. And someone's like, well, the Divine Legacy series won a lot of words. Can I start there? And the way I phrase it, which is probably something, kind of the idea is that you could read the Divine Legacy series, but it's like watching Star Wars 4, 5, and 6 before you watch 1, 2, and 3. It'll somewhat make sense, but it'll make a whole lot more sense if you start in the beginning and go through.
Oh yeah, it always does. Can I make one last comment?
Sure. It's your show.
The fantasy often is a genre that a lot of people do not, that have a hard time, who've never read fantasy before, getting into, because you have such a plethora of world building, which is part of the imagination. So what I have attempted to do with this book series is to have a sort of realism where the characters, regardless of whether they're in a magical world or an industrial technological world like we exist in today, that a character there you recognize on here and now you would in a magical realm, or good versus evil, bad versus worse, that sort of thing, so that you can pick it up and read this book series without having to go through so many hurdles about world building, where you're halfway through the first book and we're still describing
the world they're in,
the world that we're in. Okay, you can immediately identify with the characters and the situations that they find themselves in. And whether or not I attempt to do that, I thought I did a pretty good job of it, but I guess time will tell.
Okay, sorry, Lydia's.
Sorry, Cleo was
Cleo
the cat was trying to claw the microphone. And
Mike, you have a couple different books out. We talked about the Conquest of the Veil series. You also have another series with 1 book in it, and you have a couple standalones. Can you briefly talk about this for a few minutes?
The Treasure Hunt Club was the first book that I've written, and to be in a very brief synopsis on that, is about a down on his luck 30-something young man who can't hold a job, can't keep a relationship, always looking for the pot of gold in the shortest distance between 2 points. Well, he happens across a mystical book that can find anything that has ever been lost. And so he uses that book like a treasure map to try to get rich quick. And for the first time in his life, one of his crazy schemes actually works. And he becomes wealthy overnight. But that's also when his life really takes a turn for the worse. And then
no more. That's okay. Another teaser. You got to tease him, not give them all. So the Janus Witch.
The Janus Witch is a paranormal, I call it a paranormal romance thriller. I've been told by some of my readers that a lot of the readers I've been told, well, it's kind of a hybrid, and it's about a witch that loses her memory, who used to be murderous and awful and violent, etc. And she loses complete memory of her previous life. And when she falls, a young man who's the complete opposite. He's kind, he's compassionate. And from that point on, the story is what happens. Does her previous nature take hold, or does she, the old nature nurture controversy? Is your environment responsible for your behavior, or is it inbred? So you have to read the book to find out.
Awesome.
And then Edison Jones and the Antigrav Elevator is a teen novel I wrote because I taught science for 20 something years. And readers, our listeners, may remember a book series from back in the day called Tom Swift, about a young inventor. And I sort of fast forward to 21st century, and my version of Tom Swift is called Edison Jones, a 12-year-old boy genius who invents things. He's also a paraplegic because he's paralyzed from the waist down. And it's very much a story about overcoming obstacles and inventing cool stuff. And I did win an award on that, a Feathered Quill Award, which I was quite proud of. It was a bronze medal. I got third place, but it was a national award. And in fact, when I got the award, I couldn't believe it, because the award presenter said that they'd had more entries this year than they'd ever had, and I still got third place. So I'm very proud of that award.
Awesome. Congratulations. Okay. So the question to get an ebook of the new book, hold it up, down though, because of the green. Down. There you go.
There we go.
To get an ebook copy of The Witch's Brew, you need to tell me, what was the first book that Mike published? Go ahead and take it down so they can see your face. What was the first book Mike published? While we're waiting for that, I'm going to talk to you guys about Beyond the Sea, Stories from the Underground. Mike and I are part of a group called the Underground Authors, and we are such various different authors that are in it. It's kind of interesting. But what our assignment was, we were given this picture in the front, and we had to write a story with this boat in it and this picture in it. And so each of the stories, like I said, are just as vastly different as the authors. There's 12 different authors. We're having a book launch on May 7th at 5:30 p.m. Central Time on Facebook Live. And you can find it at Beyond the Sea book launch. You can find the event there. Easy peasy to find. Plus, I've been plastering it everywhere. Mike's been plastering it everywhere. So the other authors, you kind of can't miss it. So what was the first book that Mike published? Anyone? Yes. Lyra Brandon, Treasure Hunt Club. Good job. So Miss Lyra gets an ebook copy of A Witch's Brew.
Yay.
Lyra, go ahead and email, message me your email, because I know you're on my friends list too, so I'll get that. And then we'll get that to him. So guess what? That concludes our book launch party. I know it was fast and furious, but we got it all in there and got it all done.
And Cleo's back. So
Cleo's back. She's eating the remotes.
Yep.
Mike, congratulations on your book launch for book 3. You guys, if you haven't read Conquest of the Veil, I seriously recommend it, because it is an awesome series. Like I said, one of the best ones I've read in a really long time. So congratulations, Mike. We're proud of you.
Yay, Mike.
And everybody else, come to the huge book launch with 12 different authors on May 7th at 5:30 p.m. Central Time, Facebook Live. Trust me, if you haven't found it yet, you will find the link. All right.
If you live in East Texas, CJ and I will be at the Kilgore Geek End this Saturday and Sunday at the Texan Theater signing books.
In Kilgore, Texas. So make sure you're there. In the meantime, y'all have a good weekend. Be safe.